Morning, everybody. It is 8:10 a.m. It is March 1st, a new month. Yesterday was nuts. Yesterday was nuts. The Nasdaq. I talked about that big level yesterday. We opened up and we held that level. We held that level. However, the underpinnings, the internals of the market were not that strong off the open, and it couldn't get out of its way. And it pushed up. It tried to push up, and then it fell under that huge level that I talked about. I'm going to go over that later. And then the market fell apart, which I expected. And it kind of sucked. This is what's frustrating about trading sometimes is as soon as that happened, I switched over to a short mindset and I was stalking and buyers were getting trapped. And my mistake of not just putting on risk because it was a really good trade at the moment and I was literally waiting too long and I had my entry and then it fell and then I don't chase and it fell hard and I was like, oh man, that sucks. That really sucks. It was part of my plan. And uh and then the long on the way back hit demand on ES, and that also hit flip points and the gamma flip points in both Q and but then that's just a wild thing. I don't want to chase. I don't like that, but just the name of the game, I guess. But that's how that went, right? And AMD is just a monster. So let's get into this. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile, volume profile to find structure in the market, along with gamma exposure levels, supply and demand, the most traded price of the year, the rolling month, the rolling week, and the preceding day. And we'll throw some anchor view ups in there, all to find structure in this market. Okay. And I try to line a lot of those things up to come up with my trade plans and using market profile as well. And sometimes they set up beautifully, sometimes they don't give you a perfect setup. And the hardest thing about this game is to literally pick your spots when the probabilities and your edge comes appearing, but the probability is really in your favor to put risk on. And sometimes you think it is, or sometimes you force it, and that's what's hard about this game, right? Anyway, subscribe, set an alert if you haven't already. If you like my content, please give me a thumbs up, a like, that would help me out a lot. And as always, you can follow me on X at Gonzo7, at Gonzo719. All right, I think we can get right into the futures watch list. And crude, that's another one. Oh, that's another one, boy. Sometimes you just gotta put risk on, right? That's another one. Let's look at this. And crude is up 1.7%. Now, crude, I showed you guys the other day that it's at the most traded price of the year, of this year, and of the rolling year. So it's about to go crazy. Okay. I'm hoping I get a pullback, but I might not. Ether's up 1.18%. Bitcoin's up 0.66. Gold still hovering above the 2K, up 0.24. Nasdaq's up 0.13. Silver's up 0.04. ES is flat. Russell's flat. The VIX, whoa. The VIX was just flat a second ago until it just went down a little bit. The dollar is flat. The Dow is down 0.06. 30-year bonds being sold, right? Initially, that should raise the 10-year yield. But then again, I'm using 30-year bonds just as my marker. Usually, you can get to coincide them pretty good. It's not always a one-to-one thing. Let's look at the Mag 7 Plus. AMD. AMD. My God, it's almost at 200. Snow. After that dip from earnings miss, they were down to like 177. They're now at 190. Nvidia's right now holding above 800, which has been big resistance for that stock. Up 1.15. Bob is up 0.77. Now, do we have any laggards? Tesla's down 0.14. JP Morgan's down 0.19. Apple down one. It was down earlier. I saw 178. It was down. It was down over a percent, and now it's only down 0.34%. That 180 is a huge level. I don't know if pre-market that was a shakeout, and now you're going to see Apple start to push up. I don't know, but that's what I'm looking at right now. Let's look at top sector stocks. We got Eli Lilly up 1.77%, followed by Qualcomm, Semi, Exxon, with crude rising, and Chevron. Okay. Then we have the only laggards really is financials, Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs. Not down that much. Okay, not down that much. All right. Now I did see earlier this morning, and maybe I didn't see something in the news. I saw the regional bank ETF is down, um, was down pretty substantially earlier on. I can actually go to that list here. Let's see here. KRE. Okay, that was down over like 1.5% earlier this morning. It's only down 0.7 right now. Let's go back to top sector stocks. All right, now we can go to my swing trade list. Dell reported earnings. They're up 26.08%. 26%. My God. They close at 94.66 and they're at about 119 and 119.40 right now. Crazy. Autodesk up 8.42%. This is a semi marble. Let's see what else. Mara, they took a dip from earnings. They're up 2.36%. Western Digital. Let's see. Palantir. All right. Any negatives here? Let's see here. SoundHound. They reported earnings. Obviously, it wasn't that great. They're down 23%. AI reported earnings the other day. They are down 1.87%. Las Vegas Sands. They're down 1.43. MicroStrategy, CrowdStrike, Celsius, the Win. That's all down. All right. Okay. Oop. Let me just change that. Let's change this back. Go up. Okay. Let's go to the sectors. Who is the leader? No surprise there, right? Semiconductors. Jeez. Energy. Technology. Healthcare. Okay. Laggard is financials. Now, something must have happened a little bit with financials that I'm not aware of right now. Maybe I'll look at it in a second. Um, Now, if in order for this market to move real strong, obviously technology, financials, healthcare, and discretionary, you need to have them super strong all together to really make this market go on fire. All right. Now, let's go over to some economic calendar, some market news. And today we got some news dropping after the close today. Now, of course, this is not going to show me this now. Give me one sec. Alrighty. Sorry about that. That's not what I wanted to put up there. I'm a mess today, huh? That's what I wanted to put up there. Okay, let's look at this news together. So 9:45 a.m. you got S&P Global Manufacturing PMI. Okay, then at 10 you have ISM Manufacturing PMI, ISM Manufacturing Employment, and then Michigan Consumer Sentiment and Michigan Consumer 5-year expectation, 5-year inflation expectation. So 10 a.m. I am not going anywhere near trade. You need to let that calm down. Then you have Fed Logan, Fed Waller speaking at 10:15, and Fed Bostic at 12:15. And then after that, I'd say have a good weekend. All right, so that's pretty much a lot of data coming out at that time. Let's see what the juice got. All right, let's see. U.S. market futures gave up slight gains while European dropped from highs as the relief rally sparked by an inline report on U.S. inflation faded. Let's see. I just want to see. This could tell us something. Contracts for the S&P 500 and Nasdaq 100 varied from both index finished at new highs Thursday after detecting material weakness in how it handles credit risks. New York Community plummeted more than 30%. There it is. There it is. New York Community plummeted more than 30% in Friday's P-market. The stock 600 index in Europe pared up to 0.5% of its gains. Equity market sentiment is becoming more cautious following the positive outlook from Thursday's U.S. data. The favored inflation gauge at the Federal Reserve, personal consumption expenditure, increased in January at the quickest rate in almost a year, although it was in line with economists' predictions. The figures on jobless claims, which suggested a softening labor market, also gave traders hope. Treasuries appeared to be rising for a third session, but the dollar index barely moved. So that New York Community, that's the bank. I'm assuming that why the financial sector is having some issues. Um, let's see what this shows us here. There we go. That's what I was looking for. So New York Community Bancorp, ticker NYCB, stock 24% after the embattled regional lender said it had found material weakness in company controls related to an internal loan review. That's why financials are weak. Now, Apple, why was that weak before? Goldman Sachs removed the tech giant from its conviction list. Directors cut the bank's selection of top buy rated stocks. Wow, they removed them. So, and Dell stock jumped 24% after the tech giant reported fourth quarter results that topped Wall Street as a solid demand for its artificial intelligence optimized servers offset weakness in personal computing. All right. And Zscaler, ZS, stock fell 6.8% despite the cloud security platform reporting better than expected results for the January quarter. Was its guidance disappointing the market? That's why CrowdStrike and some of those are down. So that makes sense. That makes sense. If we go to earnings really quickly, wrapping up this earnings, I think 90% of the earnings are in. So after the close yesterday, you got ZS, that's the SoundHound. Then you had Dell, Autodesk, Hewlett Packard, and then today you had Plug, Fubo TV, and that's really it that I would say. I didn't see what Plug Power did or Fubo did, but that's the earnings. I think we're going to finally be out of these next week. There shouldn't be any more impactful things going on. We can move over to our daily charts. All right, take a look at those. Boom. Okay. Let's look at those. Now, I've talked about this channel, right? That came to fruition. We had resistance here. Okay, so we pulled back. And then look at that right here. Basically, at 505, let's call it, you have 1, 2, 3 daily lows. That's found support. Look at yesterday's doji candle. Jeez. That at the close, that was nuts. That dropped like a friggin' can't even think of the word. Like an anvil. Like an anchor. It literally was like, oh my god, it's going up, and boom. It closed and it shoved it right back down, right? And you can see here, right up here, okay, this is last week's highs. last month's highs now, because that's last month right here. That was resistance basically yesterday. So the SPY did not break all-time highs. Okay, yesterday, and it kind of closed here. Where are we at now? 508.70. 508.70. Okay, so we are above the close. Okay, we're in the upper third of yesterday's session. Okay, it's kind of where we're at right now. We still have not hit the 90-day daily, but like I said, there's a triple daily support here basically. That if that comes back down and tested, boy, what does that do? But we have to see, right? But now we got resistance here around 510. So really have to see what these markets are going to do. The Qs, let's look at this. The Qs have that upper right here that's been tested multiple times. All right, if we zoom in here, we can zoom in here. Okay, so this is a trend here on the top channel here that's been hit. Hasn't hit that yet, right? But what did we do yesterday? Now the Qs, be honest, I was expecting once it like moved up and all these candles, I was like, oh, it's gonna go. But then it didn't show as much strength. Apple was weak, and Nvidia really was weak, not until the end. So it really, that's what I was looking at when I was long. I was actually long, and it just couldn't do it. And then that big level happened, right? And where did it come up to? Pretty much last week's highs, right? Hit the 90-day daily, right? Came right down to it. Boom, touched it and took off. Okay, so this still has really not hurt all of the shorts yet. Really hasn't. Just crazy went up, right? So where are we at now? Let's just call it 440. We're at 440. So here's a little different here. We're right at the highs of yesterday in the Qs. Right at the highs. So now we have last month's highs here, last week's highs here. So like 440 and a half. Can that break it? Do we get another leg up today? We have to see. Okay. Remember, you got that news coming out 9:45 and 10 a.m. today, so be careful about that. What do we have here as far as the triple-headed monster? Let's look at that together. The bond market. Okay, so the 10-year yield is up again, 0.47%, maybe because of that New York Community Bank. Okay, so again, we're above the 200-day. This is just a web of moving averages, right? So we're in a little bit of an uptrend here. It's holding above the 200-day, the 20-day, but 100 days acting as resistance. We really need to see what we do. Do we break 4.3 or do we go below 4.2? Right? I don't think the bond market liked that financial sector today about that bank. That could put yields rising a little bit, which it has. It's right here, right? Now, if we look at the VIX, VIX has no fear, okay? There's no fear. It's 30 days out of fear. There's not much fear right now. All right, people are not buying that much puts here. And dollar is rising a little bit, okay? 200-day moving average acting as support. You got the next move, could it go up to 104.64? This probably with the bank is also having the dollar rise. So very, very interesting what happens today, because you do need, not in the NASDAQ, but in the S&P, you want financials to be green, right? We just have to see. I believe Fed Barkin is speaking right now. Okay, let's move over to the market profile, volume profile, and look at what happened yesterday. And what I talked about pre-market. All right. I think I'm running out of a little bit of a time today, but we'll see. Okay. So, as far as what happened yesterday, okay, in the ES. All right. So, the market opened right here. There's the overnight, right? Opened right there. And it was struggling. SPY was struggling more than the Qs. Okay. Struggling more. Healthcare was down pretty big yesterday. So that was not helping out. Right? And then what did it do? It went straight down into this demand zone and got bought up. And then it worked its way back up. Right? That happened to be also the flip point of gamma that it went down to. So very, very interesting. Right? Very took out these single prints. It basically erased the PCE pre-market data. And what happens, just I want to explain something, what happens here. So in the NASDAQ, you get such big levels. So what happens is when there's so much exuberance and you hit big move up, you move up here quick, right? And then when you come back down and you whip back up like that, you just removed sellers from the market. Sellers took their profit, they're gone, which enabled new longs. I didn't like the structure of how it ripped back up, so that's why I was like, you know what, I'm gonna be cautious, because I don't really like when it's that big of a volatile move. So that's what happened. Okay. Now, if we look at the rolling 5-day profile here, it's very balanced. It's very balanced. Price is here, 50104. Okay. You got a very balanced overnight market as well. Okay. Most traded price of the week is at 50.85. Okay. Now, what's going to happen is the most traded price of the month is probably going to move up here. Could be here. It's probably going to be up here. And what that means is that if we start to balance a little more, the most traded price of the month and the week are going to equal each other in the ES because they're already there in the NASDAQ, and that just means a big move is going to happen. Okay. What could be the catalyst? I don't know. But now let's look at what we're looking at right now. Okay. So if we're looking at this, got a poor high in the overnight right here. This lines up with kind of like yesterday's highs. So you got a weak high. Okay, you got supply over here that literally it tipped into yesterday. Literally wicked into it and then sold off right into the close. Okay, so now we came up here again and longs had poor location and we pulled back. So this is a breakout point here. 51.14 in futures. Okay, that's that. Here's our low from yesterday. Okay, here's the overnight low. So this is kind of a weak low as well. You got the most traded price of the week here, week to date VBOP here. So the overnight highs and lows are very important right now. Most traded price of the yesterday is right here. So if the market was to come down here and break that, we're probably going to test here. Okay, overnight low. If market pulls back and comes back up this way, you're going to test these highs, the weak highs, and see if you can break the supply and then get the run. Or we do this, and that most traded price of the month winds up here, and you have ultimate balance, which just means we're going big time up or down. Okay, inventory is balanced in the overnight. This is a very balanced kind of market overnight. Not a lot of edge there. Okay, not a lot of edge. The midpoint of yesterday's right here. We are above that. Okay, so and there's a demand right here at the overnight high, the low. Okay, so I'm only going to look at something that moves up here into this supply or into this most traded price of the week in demand here, week to day view up. That's the only thing I'm interested in. You know, so if we go but some scenarios here, some ES scenarios. Okay, and its monthly VWAP just started, so this is not as important right now. Okay, the monthly VWAP doesn't. It's not really important right now. So what do we have here? So this is a question of, this is in no man's land right now for me. Okay, so like I said, so if you are a bull, okay, and you're holding above the most traded price of the month and the most traded price of yesterday, which is this area, basically want this defended by bulls. Okay, so this area for me, I want to see price come back in here. So if it does, let's say we open, we come up, maybe hit this supply zone, we just come back in here. This is the real area that I want to see the market defend it, right? And it might be hard. It might be like a bear trap here, come in here. But if you start to make lower highs and you start to push up, we're going to push up and we're going to test this weak high here. And this, because there's shorts here and shorts here, could fuel us and break the supply zone and make us move up. Okay. Now, conversely, on a short side, you do have supply zone here. Okay. You do have a new supply zone right here. Okay, that could act as resistance. So if the market does do this and come up here, right, and breaks this here but doesn't break the supply and you start coming back down, well, we're probably going to test back in here, right? And then the market could get support here, but if it doesn't and it breaks it, we're probably going to test these lows. And that low, what I talked about in the SPY, is a big support level down here. If that's broken, maybe you fill the gap. I'm not saying this happens today, but that structure's really waiting to get broken. But Nvidia is over 800. Well, it's not now, but it's close there, right? You need Nvidia to break 800. Really, really need that to happen. Okay. Now, let's move over to the Nasdaq because I'm running out of time. But let's go over to the Nasdaq and let's see how that is set up. I'm gonna make this. You can just see why I wanted that long when it pulled back. Like if we opened up in the Nasdaq here. Now here's that huge level. It still is. Basically, what is it now? 18,015. I talked about this level, right? I said it's huge for the Nasdaq. So what did it do? When we opened here, I waited and I said I want to pull back, right? So the market opened, it pushed up, and I said no, 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 and I waited for it to pull back. And then I got long, and it just couldn't. I took some profits out. Just couldn't make it up. I couldn't do it, right? And so what did it do? So once you had all these single prints, exuberance from the PCE data, and what we did is when we moved up when we couldn't, and then what happened is we did this and we came back up and we were holding a, we were finding acceptance below this level, and that's where I was eyeing that short. And I was like, oh God. I was like, all right, my short's looking good, my short's looking good, and then it went without me, and then it just went like this, boom, real quick. Took out all this, and then it found buyers, right? And then it ripped back up, and then it did a little thing and moved up, and then at the close we know what happened, right? So look at the overnight. The overnight, look at that. Look how high that was at one point. Now, a little trick, a little tidbit for whoever's watching, if there's anybody watching. Whenever you make an overnight high, okay, and it's really like an all-time high, okay, but it's the overnight, so it doesn't count. That's usually not secure, meaning you don't usually finish a high in the overnight. The overnight high is usually not the high. Okay, so I really got my eye on that. And around 97% of the time, you do hit the overnight high or overnight low in the RTH session. It's a very high that gets tagged. Okay, so this is also a balanced profile. Look at that. There's the midpoint. There's that profile. So you don't have a lot of edge in this profile as anybody's hurting. It's kind of in the middle. It's balanced, right? So here's the high. Here's the lows, right? Here's our huge level. Price is above it, right? You do have a balanced profile pretty much, right? Because you got somewhat of a move here. Okay. Now, it's all about this level still. Still. Now, notice, what did the overnight high find support? Overnight find support. Look right here. Right there. It found support. So this level's so big, and I was like, all right, I gotta play along here because look at all these shorts that I was like, man, this could run, and it tried, and it couldn't fully destroy the shorts. Okay, so we have a weak low here. Why is it weak? Because it lines up with this monster level. Okay, so if we come down here again and break it and hold and hold and hold, now there is a demand zone here in the week to day VWAP. You could break that. It's gonna be, then you got single prints here. You're gonna go test down these lows, okay? But do I think that's gonna be easy to do? No. All right. So you got a weak low here. You don't have a weak high like you do in the ES, okay? But you do have this area to defend for bulls. All right. So if we look at scenarios, all right. So what are we gonna look at here? We're gonna look at some NASDAQ scenarios, right? These scenarios always seem easy to look at when I do them. It's like, oh, as long as it pulls defend here, but like in price action wise, it can seem like, oh my God, this is gonna go. But sometimes it doesn't, right? Sometimes, so what I'm gonna look for today is any kind of push up and then pushed back down, and then a test. Any test in this overnight low and this demand and week to day VWAP in this area. Okay, you really need to find acceptance below this area in order for me to really think a short is capable. But as for the long side, you could just defend this low and rise up. You know, you can also come down here quickly, hit the week to day VWAP and this demand, and if we don't establish value below here and you start doing that and then this, I want to join the party. That's all I'd be looking at. That's the line in the sand today. Okay. Now, as far as short side, okay, obviously this level's huge. All right. Now, as far as the short side, you got supply up here. Okay, so we can make our move, hit that overnight high. Even if you come back in here and you start making lower highs, we could fall definitely back right to this level. Right. Now, obviously, that could be the buy point that I just talked about before. That could also happen that way. Okay, so, but if we're talking about bearish, this is what you want to see. You want to see it come down here and take out this demand. And let's say it tries to go back up and you're just holding and holding and holding. That's when I'm going to be interested in probably a short to take all the way down to the top of this gap. Okay, so that's what I'm watching. I don't act really until I see something down here. And you got to see how the market's going to react. How's Apple going to look? How's Nvidia breaking 800? You all got to look at everything. All right. So that's going to be it for me today. Hopefully you can find it in yourself to give me a like. If you like the content, I'd appreciate that. Okay. And I wish everybody good luck. Have a great weekend. Back here on Monday. And hope everybody stays green. Remember, a lot of things don't happen great on a Friday after 1 p.m. So just be careful, okay? Take it easy, everybody.